Sometimes, the family you marry into decides you're a ghost until they learn you have a treasure they want. My name is Victoria, and for the past 6 years, I've been married to a wonderful man named James. He's kind, steady, and the love of my life. He's also the father of 2 adult children from his first marriage, Rachel, who is 28, and Michael, 25. I, at 48, came into James's life after his divorce was long finalized. His ex-wife, Deborah, had moved on and remarried. I had no grand illusions of becoming a mother to his grown kids. I simply hoped for cordiality, maybe eventual warmth. What I received instead was a 6-year masterclass in being treated as an interloper. From the very first introduction, Rachel and Michael made their position clear. I was an unwelcome addition. They refused to attend our intimate wedding ceremony. Not a card, not a call to their father on the day. When I extended olive branches, invitations for dinners, remembering birthdays with thoughtful gifts, offering help when Michael moved apartments, they were either met with cold silence or a blunt refusal. Dad's wife was my title in their conversations, never my name, and certainly never any term of endearment or familial connection. At holiday gatherings they reluctantly attended, I was meticulously ignored. Conversations would flow around me as if I were a piece of furniture. I recall one Thanksgiving at our home, Rachel remarking to her brother, just within my earshot, "It's weird having a stranger carve the turkey." The turkey I had spent 2 days preparing. James was hurt and frustrated by their behavior. He had several stern conversations with them, emphasizing that I was his wife and his happiness, and that their disrespect was unacceptable. Their response was always some variation of, "We're happy for you, Dad, but she's not our family. You can't force it." After years of trying and facing constant rejection, I built an emotional fortress. I stopped trying. I was polite, distant, and accepted that my role was to be James's partner, not any sort of figure in his children's lives. The hurt faded into a dull resignation. Financially, our situations were quite different. Before meeting James, I had built a highly successful interior design firm. I owned my apartment outright, had a robust investment portfolio, and significant savings. James, while comfortable, was a salaried architect who had gone through a financially draining divorce. Deborah had received their former family home and a substantial settlement. James had also fully funded both children's undergraduate degrees. He lived modestly, and when we married, he moved into my apartment. We kept our finances largely separate, sharing household expenses proportionally. He had his retirement accounts and some savings. I had my business and assets. Recently, we decided it was past time to formalize our wills. Given that Rachel and Michael were adults, established in their careers, and that James's estate was relatively modest, our plan was straightforward. We each named the other as sole beneficiary. Upon the second death, my entire estate, which constituted the vast majority of our combined net worth, was to be divided between a wildlife conservation fund and a scholarship program for foster youth, causes deeply personal to me. James's children were not included in my will. They never had been. I have no children of my own, and this philanthropic plan was a long-held intention, one James knew about and supported wholeheartedly. He, in his own will, left him his personal effects, some family heirlooms from his side, and a modest cash sum, a token of love, not life-changing wealth. Thinking it was a transparent thing to do, James decided to have a conversation with Rachel and Michael to outline his estate plans. He wanted to manage their expectations and avoid any future confusion or accusation. He sat them down and explained that while he was leaving them sentimental items and a bit of money, the majority of what appeared to be their potential inheritance was actually mine, and it was destined for charity. The reaction was volcanic. Their assumption, it turned out, was that James was wealthier than he was, and that my assets would naturally flow to them as his heirs. The reality check sparked outrage. I received a furious phone call from Rachel 2 days later. "How could you?" she began, her voice trembling with anger. "You waltz into our family, drive a wedge between us and our father, and now you're stealing our inheritance? Giving it away to animals and strangers? Do you have any idea how selfish that is?" I was stunned by the audacity. "Rachel," I said, keeping my voice even, "this is my money. Money I earned long before I met your father. And as you reminded me consistently for 6 years, I am not your family. Why would you expect to inherit from a stranger? Because you married our father. Everything becomes part of the family. You're just a gold digger who's finally showing her true colors, poisoning Dad against us," she shrieked before hanging up. Michael was less confrontational, but equally aggrieved, sending James a long email about feeling betrayed and cut out, implying I had undue influence. The entitlement was breathtaking. These were the same people who couldn't be bothered to send me a Christmas card, now claiming a right to my life's work. The situation escalated. Deborah, their mother, entered the fray, calling James to accuse him of being manipulated and failing as a father. Rachel and Michael began a campaign among their extended family, painting me as the villainous stepmother hoarding family money. We received awkward, probing calls from aunts and uncles. The stress was taking a toll on James, a man who values peace above all else. He was heartbroken, caught between his children's vitriol and his unwavering support for me. After much discussion, we decided on one concerted effort to clear the air. We invited Rachel and Michael for a formal discussion. We prepared documents, a simplified overview of James's divorce settlement, proof of the fully paid tuition, a breakdown of his current assets versus mine. We wanted the facts to speak. They arrived looking like plaintiffs entering a courtroom. We laid it out calmly and clearly. James explained the financial reality of the divorce, his income, his retirement savings. I then presented the origins of my wealth, showing business records from years before our relationship. The apartment, the investments, the business. These are not marital assets built with your father. I explained. They are my separate property, and I have chosen to leave them to causes that reflect my values. Rachel listened with simmering contempt. "So you're saying Dad has nothing, and you have everything, and you're keeping it all? How very convenient for you." She used air quotes around nothing. "It's not a matter of convenience, Rachel. It's fact," James said, his voice weary. "I provided for you both through childhood and college. What I have left is for my later years with Victoria. I love you both, but spouses care for each other first. That's normal. And we're just an afterthought?" Michael asked, his tone more wounded than angry. "You are not an afterthought. You are my children, and I've left you what I can. But you are adults. You are not entitled to Victoria's life savings, especially given how you treated her." James replied firmly. This set Rachel off. "So we're being punished for not pretending to love her? For protecting our family? She's a stranger. Dad, a stranger is getting everything, and your own blood gets scraps." James stood up, his patience finally snapping. "She is not a stranger. She is my wife. You don't have to love her, but you will respect her, and you will stop this entitled, disgraceful behavior right now." The room fell silent, charged with pain. Rachel glared, tears of fury in her eyes. "Fine. Choose her. Have a great life with her and her money. Don't expect to see us again." She stormed out. Michael gave us a last, conflicted look, then followed her. The silence they left behind was deafening. James looked devastated. We had tried logic. We had tried compassion, and it had exploded in our faces. In the following weeks, there was only silence. James's calls went unanswered. The narrative of the wicked stepmother and the duped father solidified in their circle. It was a dark time. James mourned the loss of his children, and I carried the heavy guilt of being the catalyst, even though I knew rationally I had done nothing wrong. Then, a crack of light. Almost 2 months after the blow-up, I received an email from Michael. It was brief and formal. "Victoria, I would like to understand the financial picture better. Would you be willing to meet for coffee? Just us? No drama." Michael. I agreed with cautious hope. We met at a quiet cafe. He was there first, looking anxious. "Thank you for coming," he started. I've been doing a lot of thinking and talking to a friend who's an accountant. He helped me look at things differently. I nodded, letting him lead. The way Rachel and I acted, it wasn't right. About the money, but also about you. For years. He stumbled over the words. It was easier to go along with Rachel. She never got over the divorce. And you became the target. I just followed. It was cowardly. This was the first acknowledgement of their behavior I'd ever received. It meant everything. When Dad said he wasn't rich, I didn't believe him. I thought he was hiding it. Or you were. But my friend asked me point blank, "Did your dad pay for your degree? Your apartment deposits? Your sister's?" And he had. All of it. And Mom got the house. It started to click that maybe there wasn't a secret vault. "There isn't, Michael," I said gently. "Your father gave you both a tremendous start. He's proud of that. What is now is for his security and our life together. My money was never part of that equation." "I see that now," he sighed. "The charity thing, it's your choice. I get it. We didn't give you a reason to think of us as family. I'm sorry for that. And I'm sorry for the horrible things we said." The apology, direct and unvarnished, lifted a weight I hadn't fully acknowledged. "Thank you, Michael. That means a great deal." We talked for over an hour. He spoke of his career, his girlfriend, his genuine love for his father, and his fear of losing him. "I don't want to lose my dad over this." "It's so stupid," he said, echoing my own thoughts. I encouraged him to reach out to James, assuring him his father was waiting, heartbroken but ready. We parted with a tentative but genuine sense of peace. Michael did reach out. Their first meeting was emotional. James came home with red-rimmed eyes but a lighter heart. They agreed to rebuild, slowly, and put the inheritance issue to rest. Michael began visiting, sometimes with me there, sometimes just with James. Our interactions were polite, gradually warming. It was a fragile bridge, but it was being built. Rachel, however, remained a fortress. She saw Michael's reconciliation as a profound betrayal. She refused to speak to him for a time and doubled down on her estrangement from us. It was a new source of pain for James, but he understood he couldn't force her. He wrote her a long, heartfelt letter, expressing his unconditional love, his disappointment at how things unfolded, and his hope that one day she would be open to a relationship with him, on whatever terms she could manage. He received no reply. Months passed. The new normal stabilized. Michael was a regular, if not frequent, presence. He respected my boundaries, and I respected his relationship with his father. It will remain unchanged. James and I updated our documents to be even more legally ironclad, but the intent was the same. Then a surprise. On James's birthday, as he and I were having quiet dinner home, the intercom buzzed. It was Rachel. She was downstairs, alone, holding a small gift bag. She wouldn't come up, but asked if James would come down. He did. They spoke on a bench outside for nearly an hour. When he returned, he looked emotionally wrung out but peaceful. "She's not ready," he said. "She still has so much anger. At me, at the divorce, at you, at the situation. She thinks the will is unfair, but she's accepted she can't change it. She said she misses her dad." They agreed to try. Not as a family unit, including me, But as father and daughter, they would meet for lunch every few weeks. Just the two of them. No talk of money, no talk of me. A separate, parallel track to the relationship he had with Michael and me. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't the blended family I'd once naively hoped for. But it was real. It was cessation of hostilities. It was a boundary that, while acknowledging a painful rift, allowed for a thread of love to remain intact. Now, a year from the initial explosion, this is where we stand. James has a civil, slowly healing relationship with both his children, though in very different forms. With Michael, it includes me in a cordial, if not deeply intimate, way. With Rachel, it exists in a space I am not part of, and I have made my peace with that. My husband is no longer being torn in two. The air in our home is clear of tension and accusation. My will is final. My legacy will help protect endangered species and educate young people who've had the hardest starts. That brings me profound satisfaction. The treasure they thought they were entitled to was never theirs. But in letting go of their claim to it, they inadvertently found something they were at risk of losing forever. Their father. And I found the peace of knowing that I protected my life's work, my values, and the sanctity of my marriage. Sometimes, holding your ground is the only way to build a foundation that can eventually support a fragile, complicated, but real kind of peace.